From VTV Channel 6 Studios in downtown Vernal, this is Local Point with your host, Chris Piner.
Welcome to Local Point, brought to you by Strata Networks. I'm your host, Chris Piner. Joining me in the studio, we have Muriel Xochimel from the Utah Department of Transportation. How did I do? Right? I've been practicing.
Yes,
so,
that
right.
was,
and from
did
Utah.
better than me.
It was really good to have you here. We've got some exciting things to talk about.
Thanks for having me.
Would you start me off a little bit with an overview of why we're here today?
So we're here today to discuss the Uintah Basin Energy and Transportation Study. The study we initiated about 6 months ago, and we're wrapping up. We're getting close to finalizing the study and wanted to talk about the results.
So a study has been conducted. You're right here at the tail end of it. All right, so basically what was the study? And then we'll get to the results.
Sure, yeah. The purpose of the study was to evaluate the economic potential of energy development here in the basin and the transportation networks here in the basin, and whether or not there was a constraint, a limiting factor on transportation as it related to energy production.
All right. So do you take a look also at the local economy? Is there an interest in that growing, or could it be hurt? Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
Yes, I think you hit the nail right on the head, that it was primarily an economic study. That the study was seeking to answer 3 questions.
All right.
First, what is the natural resource and energy development potential here in the basin?
Very good.
Everyone knows there's a lot out here. How could we put some numbers to that?
Right.
The second question related to the first, in that whether or not transportation networks as they currently stand are a limiting factor on how much energy can grow out here. Are there those types of infrastructures available for that? The third question is, what is the cost if we don't augment those transportation systems?
Very good. So what are the consequences if something didn't happen?
Exactly.
Very good. All right. So you're from UDOT.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell me how that fits into a study like this.
Mm-hmm. So UDOT partnered with the local community. Some of the sponsors of the study were Uintah County, Duchesne County, and the Uintah Transportation Special Service District. UDOT was part of that because this was a study that looked at not only energy, but also transportation.
So that fits in, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about what you learned.
Sure. So we had those questions answered. We did take a look at that, and our team of national and local experts who were experts in transportation, energy, and economics looked at those questions and interviewed industry to see, industry representatives to see kind of what their plans were, what their projections were. We also interviewed key stakeholder groups, groups that would be interested in this study to kind of get their take on it. The results showed that there is a lot of potential here in the basin. It also showed that the transportation networks are a limiting factor on growth. As it showed that even in 2015, as early as that year, we could start to see some of the limiting factors because of not enough roads or transportation alternatives. So as early as 2 years from now. The other thing, though, and I think this is the really great news to put out there, is essentially that if something was done, then there would be some substantial economic benefits.
Right. Wow, this is all very interesting. So what are the current transportation? I mean, it's really just roads right now, isn't it? As far as transportation, are there other things that we currently have in place besides the highway?
Currently in place, we do have the highway. I think that's a great point, is right now that's what we have. This study was to, not go much further into looking at transportation alternatives at this stage. So
the stage is what is here right now, and what is the impact, either positive or negative, on the status quo?
It helped to give
or the future even.
Exactly. It helped to give some numbers and some information so that we could then give that to the elected officials in the state legislature, so that should they determine that additional studies should be needed, they could then fund that, and we could go from there. So I wanted to kind of touch on a couple of the numbers that the study came out with. So $10 billion in economic growth here in the Basin alone. $35 billion in economic benefit over a 30-year projection period for the state as a whole.
Wow.
27,000 jobs statewide as a result of the potential here in the Basin should it not be constrained by transportation.
Okay. Wow. Well, that seems enough to perk up the attention of someone. Usually, when you say numbers like 35 billion, that's amazing. All right, $35 billion. All right, I want to talk a little bit more about that and maybe some of the possibilities that could be considered or laid out on the table. So we'll be right back to hear from more from Muriel Zochamel after this message from our sponsor, Strata Networks. I put this.
I'm Robin Tucker. I'm from Vernal, Utah. I'm a senior graduating from Uintah High School this year. I'm planning on attending Utah State University in Logan this fall. I'm wanting to major in either marketing or business administration. Strata Networks is a name that I see throughout the community, and so it's kind of just one of those things that's close to home. And when I found out about the scholarship, it was just one more thing that ended up relating back to me personally. I'm excited to receive the Student Senior Scholarship this year from Strata Networks.
Every jump shot, every steal, every three-pointer,
every rebound, every buzzer beater,
every assist,
every decision,
every rivalry,
every upset,
every possession,
every record, every single matchup.
Welcome back to Local Point. Joining me is Muriel Zochamel. Zochamel. What is it? Say it for me one more time.
Zochamel.
Why not? Why not let everybody know I have a hard time with it? Well, it's good to have you here no matter what. It is a little tough one, but it's a beautiful name.
Well, thank you.
Now, you're here. Certainly, you're not doing this. You haven't done this all alone.
Right. So our project
team
team
just send you out there and say, come back with some findings.
Yeah, I would have to roll up my sleeves and
Right?
really get to work.
Who else is involved in this?
Yeah, so we have a robust team of national and local experts in conjunction with our local partners at the county and at the Uintah Transportation Special Service District. We have economists, we have transportation specialists. We have a good team that we've assembled to be part of this project for us.
This is no small operation. This has been a big deal.
The investment into this study was a little over $1 million.
Wow.
So.
Wow. So someone saw potential, and the findings show there is potential. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit more about that. You had those initial 3 questions, and basically the results of the finding are indicating that maybe something could be stifled out here without doing something. And on the other hand, by adding some kind of transportation network, anything, then maybe there could be some significant benefit, not just here, but to the entire state. Mm-hmm. Is that right? Did I summarize that right?
You summarized it very well. So essentially this study was a preliminary look at the economic potential here in the Basin as it relates to energy production and transportation networks.
By energy production, tell me what you mean by that, just specifically. We're talking about the oil and natural gas.
Natural gas, oil, shale, all those types of resources that you have available here, and what growth you could see in industry, to extract those resources, to get those resources, if transportation, if the needed transportation networks are there. And
the resources are needed no matter what. So if wherever these are being transported to finds a place that is more convenient, they could just go elsewhere. Right.
There are other similar, natural resources in other parts of the country.
This could be the part that stifles some of what we have here if we don't actually address the situation.
If we don't have a broader environment that can
Right.
facilitate the type of potential that is there.
I see. So let's just speculate a little bit here. I don't know if you're ready to go this far, but we're talking about transportation, and we're transporting some kind of energy product. What are the possibilities? Wider roads, more roads?
Well, first I'd like to emphasize that the study we conducted was based on a number of different sources. We conducted interviews with industry representatives, but industry was not leading the study. The study was done in a very unbiased, credible, manner and objectively, so that we could get all of the information
Really a needs assessment.
available. And so when we were able to get those results back, we consulted with academic institutions, with the U.S. Geological Society, the Utah Geological Survey, these types of think tanks and institutions that have the information available that we would have needed for the study. Given what we found with the study, we then give that to the decision makers at the state legislature to see what next steps they would like to fund. So a next step potentially, should funding become available, would be an environmental study. Now this would be a robust multi-year study to look at exactly what you're asking. What are those transportation options that would be feasible, available, cost-effective, and responsible in developing for the Uintah Basin and for the state as a whole.
Right. So if they wanted to lay a train track out this way,
what would be the costs associated with that?
And what would be the impact? Right. Okay.
Exactly.
So one study leads to another study, and then potentially something actually materializing, or not.
Exactly. And that, I think, is a good point to emphasize, is that in looking at alternatives for an environmental study, should one be funded by the legislature, we would need to look at a no-build option as well. If we did nothing, what would that option look like?
Right.
So we have to look at all aspects of that. Part of an environmental study as well is to engage with the public in a very robust manner. So a very comprehensive public involvement effort would happen as well. So we would, the community, should we get to this point, would hear from us for sure. Right. We'd make sure that we were reaching out to folks and getting their take on how they would like to see this area develop.
Right. So we recently had some dealings with UDOT in all of the construction
Main Street, yes.
here. So did any of that lead people to go, hey, let's take a look out that way? Was it related at all, or is it just you guys are busy in all parts of the state?
I think we're busy in different aspects of transportation for the state as a whole. So our Vernal Main Street project here, we were preserving the infrastructure here on Main Street, making sure you guys had a good road. And that's a good point to bring up, Chris, because you will see us here this coming year, the next year, not necessarily a result of this particular study.
Right, Muriel?
Yeah, you're in our UDOT area, so
Muriel,
we have construction projects coming up.
It seems to me that we're in very good hands with you, Muriel, and your whole team and everybody else that's involved in this, and it just raises all kinds of other great questions. We're going to have you back again, I think.
I would love to come.
All right. Well, thank you for coming, and thank you for watching today's show. That's all for now. Please join us next time right here on VTV Channel 6.